Hi, I'm Samuel from PC Gamer,
Hi, I'm Phil from PC Gamer.
and we're here today to talk about Far Cry Primal, the new Far Cry spin-off from Ubisoft.
Well, you say spin-off, but Ubisoft is saying this is now the next Far Cry game. It's a proper new Far Cry, the same sort of size as Far Cry 3 or 4 would be. This isn't like a Blood Dragon style side project.
See, that was the thing I was going to ask about because it's coming out just over a year after Far Cry 4. So it kind of has that feeling of being an in-between sort of sequels thing, but maybe it started as a Blood Dragon style game and got expanded. That was kind of my guess looking at it, but that's not the case.
Well, it doesn't seem to. Like, it might have started out that way. I talked to the game designer a bit about this, and apparently it was something they've been considering since Far Cry 3's development, which makes sense to an extent. Like, to explain what Far Cry Primal is a bit, it's like set around 12,000 years before Far Cry 3 or 4, so it's a proper prequel.
Yeah, okay. So none of the same characters then?
No, there's no real follow on there. No, what instead, the way they refer to it is the idea of Far Cry as a frontier thing. You always like going into these lawless areas and trying to wrestle back some humanity, or lose it sometimes.
Right.
And so they were like, okay, well, we're going back to what they call the first frontier, which is man trying to actually push out and create civilization in a world that's untamed and full of monsters and not monsters, just big animals.
So how do they kind of replicate traditional like Ubisoft ideas, like towers that you capture, for example? Has that been kind of detailed by the demo?
Okay, so I've played about an hour of it. There are no towers. Apparently, constructing towers is beyond these primitive peoples.
So what's in the world?
There are outposts.
Okay.
There were none of the single player stuff was in the demo build that we played. Instead, there were lots of outposts and side missions and stuff like that, and a lot of it maps very similarly to what you might have played with Far Cry 4 or 3. Like, the movement feels identical, pretty much. You have a grappling hook.
What?
Well, not a hook, it's like a rope that you throw up, and it works exactly like the grappling hook in Far Cry 4.
Okay,
you just abseil up cliffs and stuff. Don't have a wingsuit, that was a bit beyond.
That was going to be my next question. Okay.
You also don't have binoculars. You should ask me what we have instead of binoculars.
Okay, what do you have instead of binoculars?
You've got an owl, Sam.
What?
You've got an owl.
What,
a giant owl.
So do you strap an owl to your face and like use it as binoculars? Is that how it works?
You press the down button, which is the binocular button, and your guy brings out like this conch shell type thing and plays a little tune, and
Like in Zelda?
a bit, yeah. And then suddenly you're controlling an owl, and an owl just flies above you, and you can maneuver it around, and you can see from the owl's perspective.
Wow.
And you use that to tag enemies in outposts and things and highlight things on the map.
I've been using owls wrong this whole time.
It gets better because the owl isn't just binoculars. It's also a way you can attack enemies. Like, if you see somebody, you can press R2. Should point out we were playing it on the PS4. They didn't have PC build available, so it was all controls and stuff. Press R2 and your owl just dives in and attacks a man's face.
Okay, and all of this is historically accurate, right? This is a documentary, right? A historical work.
I did ask about historical accuracy because of the whole owl thing and some other stuff that we'll get into in a sec. And like, they've gone to great efforts to some extent. Like, apparently they've replicated some of the languages at the time, and there are differences within the languages that the tribes speak. The different sort of factions that you'll meet, and that's all kind of accurate. But also, you've got the owl, and you can upgrade your owl using a skill upgrade so that it can drop firebombs on people.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Well, that sounds like a historical work to me.
Yeah.
So what about the other kind of like animal interactions in the game?
Yeah, animals are a big feature, and it's not just owls. Like, any animal you meet, it seems, not only are these dangerous forces that can properly mess you up, but also you can craft bait in like the same way that you could in Far Cry 4, say. But if you throw bait at an animal, it'll go and investigate it, and while it's in sort of eating it away, you can go up and tame that animal, which you do by holding your hand in front of it. So if it's a saber-toothed tiger, it'll look at you and roar a bit, and then it's like, okay, I'm yours now. I will do anything you say forever.
Okay, so is it a bit like using the blood dragons in Blood Dragon where you throw a heart and an animal will appear, that sort of thing?
It's not entirely. Like, the thing with the blood dragon was those dragons sort of felt dangerous, and like they'd follow your instructions for a bit, but you always knew they were going to turn on you.
Right.
Whereas here, you can tame an animal, and they're just your pet, basically. And you can then, what if you aim at something and point and press the animal command, they'll go over and investigate. If you press the command on another animal or another human, it will just go and attack them.
Do they have like? Do you get to keep the animals to kind of until they die? Then, like, do you have like an animal garage, like in
You
GTA
have
5?
an animal garage.
Are you joking?
I'm not joking. No.
Sorry.
So one of the menu buttons lets you call the various animals you've collected. Now they can be damaged, but you can heal them by feeding them meats and stuff. And if one dies, you won't be able to. You'll have to select a different animal for a bit. But I think you can revive it by giving it, like, donating some meat in the menu or whatever.
Okay, right.
So you do build up this collection, and they're all kind of different. So Ubisoft described the bear as a sort of tank. It's big, it's fierce.
Can it be upgraded to have a turret, or like is it?
Not that I've seen, but they haven't revealed all the skills, all the upgrades yet. So maybe and the bears can swim and stuff. Whereas if you get like one of the big cats, they'll be more stealthy.
Right.
If you crouch, the animal will start stalking along, so they'll be stealthy. It's kind of cool, although part of the problem was we'd had a load in the particular demo build. We'd had a load of stuff unlocked for us, but it dropped us quite early in the map. Like, all the outposts were fairly easy in that, so it was kind of trivial to just go up and say, "Hey, bear, kill everything," and it would just do it. And it was like, okay, it would be nice to see what the system's like in the more advanced outposts, and as things get more difficult, and how it all kind of interacts.
So what sort of weapons do you have at your disposal then? Is there good, like, I assume there's a lot of melee attacks, but have they got like good kind of weapon feel to like the
well, you've got a club, so you can bash things. A lot of it seems to map more closely to sort of the stealth elements of previous Far Cries. So you've got the bow, that's quite a big deal. You've got a spear, which is a lot more powerful, and you can use that to either pierce or you can use it to throw.
Oh, cool.
For a decent amount of damage.
Yeah.
All of these weapons you can set on fire, because fire, they want fire to be a big thing. It ties into the whole primal element, the whole primitive kind of.
Yeah, owls dropping bombs from the sky.
Exactly, yeah. And Far Cry's always enjoyed like having its fire propagation tech and creating big infernos. That will be a much bigger factor by the sounds of it. And certain animals will be afraid of fire, so if you don't want to fight them, you can light a torch and swipe away, and they'll just sort of back off.
Right.
Bears aren't. Bears will still mess you up if you.
Do you sense this will be like as essential as a Far Cry 4?
It's hard to say. A lot of what we've seen, it still felt quite familiar, despite all the kind of eccentric elements and all the elements based on the time period. I'm not sure. I mean, part of that could be that they've just not revealed any of the single player stuff. Like, they'll be showing some of that off next year.
Okay.
Early next year. It was enjoyable though, It was quite fun, just going around, ordering animals at things. I quite like the weapons because I've always liked that stealth element of Far Cry.
Yeah.
So that does appeal to me. And they are trying some interesting other things. Like, the map is pretty big and varied, and I didn't see it, but they have sort of shown off the kind of northern area, which is a lot icier.
Oh, cool.
And cold will play a part in survival. You can die of exposure when you first get there, so you'll have to use fire to sort of keep yourself warm up until the point where you can craft sort of high level winter clothing and stuff.
Is it malaria in Far Cry 2 all over again?
Probably not quite that annoying, because you can just leave. You can just leave the cold place. You couldn't leave the malaria.
That's true. Okay, cool. That sounds pretty good. But it sounds almost like a kind of survival-y type game, but made by a publisher. Am I misreading it there?
Well, so it's got survival elements, I think, is the key thing there. Like, you don't need to feed yourself. You don't need to find water or anything. It's just, if you're in the north, you can die if you're too cold. But that's just, it dips its toe into this system and into that system.
Okay.
It's not fully committing to be a survival game by any means.
It's all pretty light touch. What about, does the co-op stuff from Far Cry 4 return as well?
Not sure yet.
Okay.
That's not been revealed.
Okay, interesting. It seems like that would be a step back to not have that, but yeah, interesting. Okay, cool. So a little on the fence about it, but it sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, like I said, what I played was enjoyable. I just would definitely need to see more and see how, like, Far Cry is all about how the systems all interact with each other and these weird, like, emergent stories you can tell. And you don't get enough of that with just an hour's play session. But when everything comes together, I could see, people will be enjoying it. Maybe.
All right, wonderful stuff. Okay, so when's it out again?
Well, on PC, it'll be available on March 16th.
Okay, great. That seems really soon.
Yeah, it's not been a long development time, has it? So
Yeah, and we don't even know if the co-op's in it yet. Oh well, I guess we'll see.
yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys.